Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special meeting of the Living Earth Movement. This month, we are privileged to be participating in the 4th annual World Unity Week. And our programs are being made available on multiple platforms. They're being recorded. They'll be shared over the next rest of 99 days of the Peace Through Unity. And this particular session is an opportunity for Cobb World to meet the World Unity World and a few other worlds, Peace on Earth by 2030, the Holo Movement, several different evolutionary leaders, synergy circles, all working on similar activities, all summarized already by Jay McDaniel, Peace on Earth and Unity, right? So that's what we're about. We're going to start a little bit today with our esteemed leader who's been nominated for the Templeton Prize and the AARP Purpose Prize, should have been for the Nobel Peace Prize. And what we're about to share over the next 75 minutes or so documents that. Dr. Cobb, welcome and thank you for your works. Thanks for bringing us together today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this, you and others, for this opportunity to introduce ourselves to a larger world. Our process movement has always been rather unknown and not understood very well. So this is an opportunity we hope to become part of a larger movement. We have the title Living Earth Movement, which might imply that we thought that we were a movement. Well, the we in this case is a dozen of people or maybe 20 people, and that's hardly a movement by any stretch of the imagination. But we do feel that it's useful to have a label like that and then to work on it, to make it a movement. We really think that today, more people are wanting a living earth than are wanting what the metaphysics, the worldview of late modernity is leading the world to go. So that we don't think this is a minority calling out, it's a majority calling out. Let's stop killing the earth. Now, of course, we don't think that we know anything like all, but even a large portion of those groups that want a living earth. But we do know some. And so we are working on making connections with as many of those groups as possible. And this week seems to be a wonderful opportunity for us to meet others and for us to introduce ourselves to others. What is distinctive about us is we are all influenced by a philosopher who did his work at the very height of late modernity, but already recognized that it was leading in the wrong direction. We can very simply say, he said the world is made up of organisms rather than of little bits of matter. The modern world, as defined by modern science several centuries ago, thinks of things as being objects. Everything is determined by what past objects are doing. Nothing has any purpose or self-determination in itself. So it leads to reductionistic thinking, to mechanistic thinking, to deterministic thinking. And we think all of those leading the world in the wrong direction. So Whitehead gave us an alternative, which was radically different at the time he gave it from what most people have been led to think. And in fact, the universities have moved even more strongly since that time in the direction that he feared we were heading. But he does provide us an alternative. And in the period since he was writing, lots of the ideas that he presented have been picked up, whether learned from him or from other people. That I never know. But there are we have many partners in thinking that it is better to emphasize the responsibility of things for being what they become, and their freedom, their ability to make choices, rather than to picture the world as made up of static objects. So we think the Living Earth movement is a good label for what we all need, and we are quite sure that a living Earth is possible only if we can have peace. So we throw ourselves enthusiastically into this conference this year, which is focused on peace. And we're hoping that maybe the notion of peace can be expanded so that we don't think only, very important, but not only of peace between nations, but of peace between human activities and the workings of nature as a whole. If we don't kill each other among nations, if we continue to be at war with the natural world, we won't survive long. So we hope that most of the people who are so concerned with peace as to be giving a lot of time and energy at the present time to that will be willing to keep working together to have a harmonious earth for both human beings and the other creatures that make it up. And when I say we, I think I speak for all of us who have been influenced by Whitehead. And I think that many people, many people who have picked up their ideas in other places also believe the same things. But this particular group of organizations worked in this direction before many of the others, because the philosopher on whom we depended pushed us in this direction. So the Living Earth movement is one example of the influence of Whitehead. And these groups came out of the University of Chicago. And then subsequently, when the University of Chicago became less open to countercultural views of reality, Claremont picked up the leadership. And the very first organization that we created in Claremont, at the Claremont School of Theology, was the Center for Process Studies. Process rather than the static, organic rather than mechanistic. Also subjective as well as objective. Everything that is something in itself and for itself, as well as being an object for other things. And Whitehead explains very clearly how all these things can be. So we tried to keep Whitehead's thought alive, and I think succeeded, although always marginal. The university has not, the American university has not been very interested. But the Center for Process Studies has continued. We have a journal, we have a publishing house, we have all the things you have to have in order to keep a movement going. And there are a lot of books. And I think now, even in the resistant philosophical community, there is some recognition that there is a different movement, a different way of putting things together. So we'll take some credit for that. Now, the first big addition to what we could do in the American university climate, which was very uncongenial, came when Zhihe came to Claremont from China, from a very prestigious academy in China, to learn more about our Whiteheadian process movement. And he became our man in China. And so there was the China project of the Center for Process Studies. But it was really amazing that in China, a center that was organized at a school of theology in the United States could do as well as it could do through a project. But on the other hand, in the longer run, it was obvious that this needed to be completely independent. It was hard for Chinese universities to send people to help work in a activity that was going on at a Christian school of theology. So the IPDC, the Institute for the Postmodern Development of China, was organized by Zhihe Wang, and it has had far more followers. It has been far more successful than all the rest of our activities put together. So we are eager to hear from him now about this organization.
Zhihe, I think you're on.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I have a small PowerPoint, yeah. So I try to, okay. Okay, sorry. Thank you, John, very much. You always speak highly of us, you know, we feel humbled. Okay, this is the, people can see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is the, I gave, because this is the, anyway, this is a talk. Even it's the smaller one, I gave a topic called promoting the ecological turn in China and the world as well. Okay, yeah.
Zhihe, I think you need to start the presentation. Right now we're seeing it in edit mode instead of presentation mode. You may
really
want to. There you go.
Now,
yeah,
okay?
there you go. There you go. Now we're seeing. Yes.
Because this is the presentation, I gave a topic called promoting the ecological turn in China and the world as well. Yeah, looks like a big topic, right? Okay, yeah. So I want to talk the 4 questions. One is, what is the IPDC? Second, why postmodern? Third, IPDC's product. The fourth, IPDC's impact. I will talk one by one. Okay, yeah. So what is the IPDC? Let's Dr. Cobb just mentioned it comes from the China product, established in 2004. Yeah. So from now on, it is a non-profit organization, 501. So from now on, we call it the IPDC, save some time. Okay. Yeah. The founder and the founding president of IPDC is John Cobb Jr. The mission of IPDC is to want to integrate the best Chinese and the West resource to find a way toward ecological civilization. Yeah, that's the main idea. That's why our logo is a bridge. Yeah. Want to learn from each other. Why you use the word postmodern? Here, the postmodern, we mean constructive postmodern. Also means the protest thought. Yeah, which is different from the French school deconstruct postmodernism. But what is the constructive postmodernism? So you know, that is people we can talk one semester about what is the constructive postmodernism. Generally speaking, I think we want to looking for the third way between tradition and the modern. Okay, you know, if we continue the modern way, it will be the dead end, right? Yeah, the modern culture like a crazy train toward the cliff. Yeah, so but it's impossible make people totally back to tradition. Is there a third way? We call the constructive postmodern way. Okay, that is the process thought really hard. Yeah. So it's among the IPDC products, generally speaking, we have the tradition project, conference, Claremont Eco Forum, John Cobb Common Good Award, Summer Academy, Cobb Eco Academy, Processor Research Center in China. Yeah. You know, that is we have 36 centers. This is one of them. You can see Professor Jay McDaniel there, Kevin Philip Clayton joined this opening ceremony of Guangdong Center in 2013. Yeah. It's the conference. So far, we have 170 conference, yeah, on ecological civilization, process salt, constructive postmodernism. This is one of them. Yeah, Dr. Cobb is the keynote speakers. Yeah. And also among those 170 conference, one is the famous one is the Claremont Ecological Forum. Yeah, this is the start of 2006, 1 year earlier than the central government to propose the officially proposed ecological civilization. Yeah, you know, this is a really influential forum. So every year we through one is a lot of people to come. Yeah, it's also a lot of national media report this forum. Yeah, we also we have a summer academy. So far, we already organized the 15 summer academies. So it's every year there are some American persons, philosophers, thinkers come to China to give a talk. Jay McDaniel, Dr. Jay McDaniel went to many times. This is in the valley, in the eco village. You can see Jay there. People, you know, I think people study in the village more happier than in the classroom, right? Yeah. Actually, also we established a Cobb Eco Academy in China. So that's also in the eco village. So Dr. Cobb went to there 2018 to cut the ribbon, yeah, for the celebration, the opening ceremony. Yeah. So we walk on the mountain road. We worry about he fall down. It's pretty deep. Yeah. It's John Baker. This is Mei Junfan. And also we also have a lecture product. I forgot to mention that we arranged the non-Chinese lecture in China. So far around 700 lecture given in China. Yeah, this is one of them. Dr. Cobb deliver in Beijing. Yeah. And also besides working with the government, local government and scholars, we also working with the grassroots movement. Yeah, this is we working with the zero pollution village movement in China. And we also have a kindergarten. You know, ecological civilization, we need an eco person. In order to prepare eco person, we should better start from kindergarten. That's why we have the Whitehead kindergarten. I hope people can come to visit the Whitehead kindergarten. You will see there are no individual toys. All the toys you have to cooperative, play each other together. That's we want to cultivate the sense of cooperation, yeah, and the sense of belonging. And this is the you know, every time people come to China, like to visit the kindergarten. Yeah. Those children very cute. Yeah. But you said that you organized so many events, in the past 18 years or 20 years. What kind of achievement you have achieved? It's, to be honest, really hard to count what's achievement because we want to change people's mindset, the way of thinking. Yeah. But we do achieve something. Yeah. So working with the Center for Park Studies, yeah, and our Chinese partner, American partner. So far, we already got 66 visiting scholars from China. It's 36 per center in China and 170 conference and 16 Claremont Eco Forum and 600 lectures and 15 summer academy and 36 books. Yeah. So this is the influence. You can see we help China reflect on the modernization. Before everyone said China should go to modern. Right now, the Chinese government proposed called the Chinese style modernization. Yeah, I think in order to draw a line with the more Western modernization, yeah, China want to look for go walk his own modern way. Yeah, I think that's it. We call it actually it's a postmodern way. We think. Also, we help China revalue its own tradition, because the first enlightenment, China 100% copy the West or throw away their own tradition, wipe out their own tradition. And right now, more and more people, from the government to common people, realize the value of the tradition. Yeah, so we're looking for the third way. Yeah. Encourage China to create an ecological civilization, not an industrial civilization. Yeah. So you see you can see that we created a part of the Pando tree. Okay, you can see so many new field, a new study emerged in China. It never happened before. Yeah, so that's something really something new. Yeah. So you can see there's like the postmodern law, postmodern agriculture, yeah, education. So this is the also architecture, yeah, and we use the word organic diploma, organic linguistics. Yeah, this is the many field. Yeah, this is this is a paragraph I want to people take a look. The most valuable theoretical point of view in 2012. That's the Professor Yijie Tang, a top Chinese philosopher in Peking University. He said, he think the process out and the construct postmodernism, if we can combine with the Chinese tradition, and that will have a bright future in China. Yeah. So his point of view selected as the most valuable point in China. Yeah. And that's the present Professor Yijie Tang. Yeah, with President Xi. When President Xi visited the Peking University, the only person he hold a hand is President Tang. Yeah, Professor Tang. Yeah. So you can see he is really somebody in China, Professor Tang. And where is the one? There's look something. Okay, look like something wrong with the PowerPoint. But anyway, I just probably time already out. I want to okay, here is there. Okay, back to. People still cannot. Can you see it? It's okay.
No, it looks like
okay.
there's a problem with your PowerPoint. Go ahead and just wrap up without it, probably.
Right. Yeah, that's it. You can see the influence from the government level to grassroots level to scholar level. I think it's of many levels there. Yeah. So that's it. Right now, I think ecological civilization. You can people say maybe just like kind of a political labor politics, but actually if you go to China, you will see from many layers. There's the people really work very hard, try to go to that direction, make that ecological turn. Yeah, of course, the resistant power is very powerful, because in the past 30 years, you can see in the long run, in the past 100 years, China almost totally copy the West model, right? Yeah, so our economists almost 100% they learn from the neoliberal economy. Yeah, so it makes a perfect maximum. So you can see the resistance power is very powerful, but I think it's time. Yeah, people realize the problem of the modern way of thinking, the modern way of production, the modern way of development. Yeah. So it's right now, recently I read a report around 20% of Chinese children, they have the depression problem. Yeah. I think you can see the pressure, everyone got the pressure. It's really hard, may feel happy in the modern way, yeah, in the modern life. Yeah. I think people try to looking for, no need you call it the modern way, a postmodern way, but actually something ecological way. Yeah. So the university, we also try to cultivate, educated, prepare ecological person. Yeah. Rather than like a high score. Yeah. Right now, because of the the AI, chat GPT, or no need to memorize so many things, right? So I think from Whitehead kindergarten, we emphasize the Whitehead's philosophy is creativity, curiosity. I think right now this is really something really need. We also in China, so a lot of nature education, people accept this ecological education. They set up a connection with nature. The reason why the modern society have people have so many mental problem, psychological problem, because the people cut the link off with the nature, right? Cut off. So right now it's time to reestablish the link to the nature. I think that's why I think our IPT's work is very important. So we also want to still continue to learn from everyone and open to everyone. Yeah, if you have some good idea, some good people, or we like to import to China. Yeah, that is our goal. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was fascinating. I've been working with you 18 months and I just got a master's degree. And you said, thank you. That was fabulous. Dr. Cobb, back to you.
Everyone will understand why we think in China, everything we hoped for to do and we're not able to do in the United States was done. And that is really a delight for those who have been working in this field for so long. I think that we were going to go from that to speak of the 2015 conference, when we have in time processed thought more and more closely with something that could be called a living earth movement, but we were calling it ecological civilization. And the 2015 conference was our displaying that connection. And we had 80 different groups, each of which was talking about ecological civilization or some aspect of it, and showing how it could fit with a process position. And even as we were having the conference, we were concerned about its work being continued after we stopped meeting together. And Eugene Shirley was working with us especially. And we came up with an interesting name also for his work, Pando Populus, but I'll let him talk about that. Thank you, Eugene. Go to it.
Okay, John, thank you so much. Charles, thank you so much as well for organizing this and bringing us together. Appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all about Pando's work and to do so within the context of peace. It's a context that has great meaning for me going back many years. First, we have this funny name, Pando Populus. Some of you may know, but maybe not all. Pando is the name of the largest living thing on Earth. It is, we call it a one-tree forest. It is a tree of 47,000 trunks spread over 110 acres in south central Utah, and yet it is all one tree. It's all connected at the roots. It's literally one tree in spite of the fact of all those trunks. it's certainly one of the oldest, maybe the oldest thing on Earth as well, in addition to be the largest living organism or the largest organism. And so we thought it was a wonderful symbol of our lives together, the unity, the interconnectedness between everything that is. I first came into John Cobb's orbit more than 40 years ago when I had him as a professor at Claremont Graduate School in the Philosophy of Religion and Theology program. I was in graduate school in the early 80s and spent a great deal of my time focused on justice. I'd say the justice side of the peace equation, spearheading a project that aimed to bring international attention to the matter of human rights injustices faced by many religious believers in what was then the Soviet Union. I saw my work through the lens of peace, insofar as self-determination for individuals and societies is so fundamental to peace building. Today, I continue to think of my life and work ultimately through this lens, now enhanced even by the fact that half of my family is Taiwanese. So I feel every personal reason to support good relations, harmony, and peace across the strait, to maximize every win-win opportunity, and to foster an environment of mutual respect. Here in Los Angeles County, the characteristics of a peace identified by justice, harmony, and balance find themselves enshrined in a plan for the region's sustainable development that was adopted by the LA County Board of Supervisors. The plan is entitled Our County LA. It is the most ambitious regional sustainability plan in the United States. All of the work of Pando Populus relates to helping to implement the goals of the Our County LA plan and its specific articulation of vision and action steps. So what does Pando do? Pando's work is in education, focusing entirely on civic engagement for sustainability. We channel our efforts through the institutions of civil society, educational, professional, community, and faith-based organizations, in addition to working closely with public agencies. Our aim is to develop a citizenry better equipped to take our biggest challenges on. Pando Days is our signature program in higher ed, and it brings higher educational institutions together from across the region to help implement the county's sustainability goals. It's the only program of its kind, which is one in harnessing the intellectual and creative talents of higher ed for a defined regional purpose. To date, some 24, 25 higher ed institutions have registered to be a part of the program and either have participated in it or are participating this year. And those institutions represent a span from community colleges to R1 research institutions. Pando Days is unique for combining project-based learning on the one hand with developing real-world projects that can be implemented in the community on the other. Colleges and universities that participate dedicate a full course, studio, or lab in the fall term to developing their Pando Days work. From 40 to 80% of projects that have been developed this way over the last 4 years have moved forward with work that can be identified and has been implemented in the community. So what do Pando Days projects look like? UCLA mounted a project called Biophilia Treehouse, which was to support biodiversity at the treetop level and enhance human appreciation for birds and for the kind of ecosystem that's needed to support them. The very first Biophilia Treehouse was just established in Encino, and we had the opening day here a few weeks ago. CSUN, a local university in Northridge, California State University in Northridge, developed a LA River project in the Sepulveda Basin, dealing with river advocacy and restoration. Pepperdine University did a wonderful faith-based project dealing with the responses of faith-based communities to the problem of climate migration. Out in the Claremont area, Harvey Mudd College, Pomona College, and Cal Poly Pomona teamed together to develop a strategy for a local and innovative, first of its kind, nonprofit solar panel factory that's being developed in Pomona, and a strategy for taking that throughout the region. So these are just some of the kinds of projects that have been developed under the Pando Days framework. So what's our secret sauce? We try to make it fun to save the world. We try to lower the barrier to entry and make it easy to actually do something. We make civic engagement really active, and we put a project at the heart of engagement. We like to say we put community at the heart of education. We make it possible to collaborate with amazing people. We provide all the curricular and program resources needed to pull all this off. And we do this all within the framework of what we call a three-legged stool of support, education, community partners, and public agencies, active at every level of program development and rollout. The impact we deliver is especially high for women and first-generation leaders, racial and ethnic minorities, and economically disadvantaged groups. Also for young people. I'll put in the chat shortly a link to a video that we have. It's a 12-minute video, too long to play here, of Pando Days from the perspective of the youth that have participated. So that's it about Pando. I mean, it's, I guess, not it. There's a ton that I could say, but it's all I prepared for today. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share these thoughts with you, tell you what Pando is up to in Southern California. Our focus, you can see, is helping to implement the plans here in LA County to bring about greater justice, environmental harmony, and hopefully build a foundation that's necessary if we're to achieve peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eugene. And I'm tempted to talk about other things you have done, but that would be a mistake under the circumstances. But you have talked about other things I'm most excited about, because I'm so unhappy about the extent to which universities have tried to isolate themselves from the needs of the world and just be places of pure academic work. And you have helped to break them out of that, and I think model a way in which universities can contribute immensely to the salvation of the world. If they would join in all over, give up the notion of being value-free and say, we value a living earth, and we will do what we can with our expertise and our capacities and our wonderful staffs, our faculties, with so many great people in faculties who would love to help save the world, but who don't really find opportunities to do very much. You're showing the way, and I want to thank you. We actually, excuse me, we spawned another meeting, another group.
Well, John, excuse me for butting in, if I could.
Yes.
A minute. My background, 60 years, community activist, community development, and Eugene is one of the most humble people that I've ever experienced. And when I heard a presentation about Pando on John Cobb and Friends every Tuesday, I just kept getting so excited and grateful. And this program today is the result of how much you were able to share in that hour and a half. And yes, please do put the We Are Pando film in there. I asked Eugene to share this as an example for these thousands of organizations that are looking for the magic sauce, the secret. Maybe a big part of that is the fun. So this is being recorded. There are 3.4 million potential audience. There are at least several dozen organizations that I'm going to send specifically to this and to your Pando links, because you are, LA County is a beautiful example of what can be done on a geographic level. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals and organizations already in this global network that are looking for you. Thank you, Eugene.
And,
Thank
and in what he showed us at the earlier meeting, the most exciting part was listening to the students. And I'm sorry that had to be left out, but know that there is something even more powerful than what he presented.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Philip Clayton is not with us, but I think he has sent us something to show. Philip Clayton has created an organization about ecological civilization. And he is, instead of working in one locale, he is really working all over the world.
Hi, friends. My name is Philip Clayton. I'm the president of ecociv.org, the Institute for Ecological Civilization. And I want to take you through the journey that we've embarked on and invite you in to share with me and with us in that journey. Our goal, together with John Cobb, the Living Earth Movement, and other allies, is to create a global ecosystem for change. The motto behind this, the dream, the goal, the reality, is to promote solutions that inspire hope, which means to participate in solutions that inspire hope. And where the journey starts, as it always starts, is in awakening consciousness, which is why we're here together during World Unity Week. It's the ideal location to discuss and to participate in ecological civilization. This is the place where such a form of human living, a civilization, unfolds. It brings together the riches of our vision and action, the qualities that we have to develop in ourselves to contribute to a new earth rising. This is also the path that EcoCiv is walking, and that we invite you to walk with, alongside us, with us as well. Joining the transition to an ecological civilization means practicing the 7 qualities of empowerment, oneness, unity, cooperation, abundance, love, and faith. And let's think together for a moment about why. Well, the path to a new earth rising starts with the recognition of our unity and oneness. We evolved from a single origin. We're a step in a physical and spiritual awakening that Brian Swim and Thomas Berry call the universe stories. We're not the apex, but we're members of a much larger community, the more than human world. And because we recognize our unity and oneness, we're related in the mode of cooperation. Cooperating means empowering, but it's different from what many imagine. For world unity, empowerment means the empowerment of all persons. And the fruits of this spirit are love and faith and abundance. Abundance for all humans, and for all greater than human organisms as well. World Unity Week is conceived as an ecosystem of multiple spaces. We speak of World Unity Week because we seek to be a microcosm of what the planetary community as a whole is. This is an ecosystem of multiple species and life forms and cultures and communities and lifestyles and lifeways. You know that each space in World Unity Week is called a convergence room, and that each one follows a particular theme. So I want to use the themes of this year convergence room as road markers to introduce you to EcoCiv, the vision of an ecological civilization. It always starts, as one of the themes says, with awakening consciousness. For me, that was a moment sitting in a national lecture series that I'd set up called Faith in the Future of the Planet about 15 years ago. And one of our most famous speakers was John Cobb. He gave a talk about the climate crisis and what it meant. And he said, this actually threatens the lives of many, many people. And people are not seeming to be aware of this. in 2008. And I paused in the discussion and raised my hand and said, John, you know, when you say many, many deaths, like, what are you talking about? Thousands of people, tens of thousands of people dying from climate change. Pretty naive question in retrospect. And John, in his calm way, said, no, we're looking at the death of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. That was, for me, the moment of the awakening of consciousness. Everything else that I was involved in seemed less important by comparison. The second step is seeking out like-minded people. So soon after that, John began work on this global conference you've heard of. I worked on it, and EcoCiv was born out of it. The conference was called Seizing an Alternative Toward an Ecological Civilization. And every day when I get out of bed, I seek other like-minded people who are ready to seize, that is, to live, to participate in that alternative. I think of that World Unity Week as representing a growing body of people who are ready to seize an alternative in that sense. Now, what happens when we come together are that many of the other themes that are covered in World Unity Week arise. And that includes, let me just move through these slides. Of course, the awakening consciousness and the seeking out like-minded people. But then there are 6 essential steps, we believe, toward an ecological civilization. The first one is partnering with nature. That's the indispensable piece, because that's the one that leads us to an ecological civilization. That phrase is hard, but if you just take those 2 words apart, I think it's easy to comprehend. The ecological comes first. Ecology is the study of living things in relationship with each other. The core principle of ecology is that no organism is an island unto itself, but all of us exist in a profound interconnection, interdependence, in a symbiotic relationship. So take that as the core idea of ecology, and then add on the word civilization. That just means broad patterns of human living together, cultures, lifestyles, institutions that are extended over hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. And then it's obvious that the pairing of the two is natural. The only kind of civilization that can continue and thrive, this is also the lesson of the history of across the centuries, the only civilizations that thrive are the ecological ones, the ones that remain partnered with nature. From the ecological civilization notion, this idea of partnering with nature, comes the idea of intentional community living. These are the smaller groupings, the families, the villages, even the regional groups that are eco-communities, that we together learn to live a lifestyle that's genuinely ecological. On the one hand, that produces eco-persons, as the Institute for the Postmodern Development of China showed in one of their recent conferences. And out of eco-persons grow eco-families, eco-communities, eco-cultures. So it moves upward from there. So think about the 3 words on the screen. The intentional means to bring the values and awareness to what we do. And the community living is this way of living ecologically with each other. EcoCiv works, for example, in the California city of Pomona. The city is 72% Hispanic. It's disinvested. There's much poverty and joblessness in Pomona. And yet this city voted a few years ago, city council and the nonprofits and citizens there, to become a compassionate city. One of the major projects that EcoCiv does in developing intentional community living in Pomona is we brought in a major grant that this become a city office that balances community well-being on the one side with violence prevention or violence reduction on the streets on the other side. The idea is that when you take the violence, the selfishness, the abuse out of the way, then community living can thrive. Our goal in all of our work is to help establish well-being economies. Well-being economies are economies that work for all persons, not just the richest. They mean turning from the death economy to what John Perkins calls the life economy. From that point, we move on to community-led, eco-centered governance. For EcoCiv, celebrating ethnic diversity is the richness of communities and community-led cities. To learn from indigenous lifeways, to be eco-centered or ecologically centered in life, value, work, family, art, culture, music. It means the form of governance that we need for a planet in crisis. That leads in turn to the emergence of integral cities and ecoregions. The core idea here in this concept is bioregionalism, that the way humans live in a place, in a city, and the bioregion of which they're a part are integrally combined. And then from building a bioregion like a small village on the edge of a river or in a fishing village, then one builds out, as John Cobb always says, communities of communities of communities of communities. We move outward in that form. In an ecological civilization, the city is no more outside its ecosystem than, say, our spirit runs free from our body and mind. I remember being a young adult in German farming villages where you walk out your door into the fields, between the fields to school or to the next village. There was no wall, no separation between the house and the outside. This means, as we're doing in our work with Pomona, to seek to integrate green spaces into the cities to promote urban farming. From that one comes awakening consciousness, namely the original motivation is consciousness, and the fruits of the work are consciousness. And finally, the work that we're all involved in is peace building. To live in harmony with each other and with the population simply means to be living in peace. Whether you use religious terms for this or not, it involves the same concept. I wish all of you a rich Unity Week and much chance to participate with us at ecociv.org in this work of transition. Thanks.
John, you're muted. John? John,
Yes, okay, I'll turn it.
please.
Our audience might not learn from the presentation, which fits us in so beautifully into this week, that Philip also has had very specific projects. For example, in the field of water, there are cities all over the world that are already experiencing shortfalls of fresh water. And I think EcoCiv has become the go-to place to work on projects of that kind. I won't develop. He chose to spend his time at a different level, but there's much that he could tell us about concrete programs. Yes, all right. I think that the next on the program is called the Cobb Institute. I'm a little embarrassed about announcing its name this way, but the School of Theology, which was the host and the locus of so much of our activities, looked like it was moving away to Oregon. Those the reasons for that I won't try to go into. And we wanted to keep something alive in Claremont. And so and the Pomona Valley, I might say, since he already mentioned what's going on in Pomona. There's really a lot very exciting opportunities in that connection. And so we started out just a few of us meeting in a room. We've turned into a national and partly international Zoom meeting. And we have a wonderful leader who has been working in this field and leading in it. You've already heard about him, all the work he's done in China, Jay McDaniel. He's going to tell us something about this institute.
Well, if John Cobb is a little embarrassed to introduce the Cobb Institute, I'm doubly embarrassed to be in his presence and talk about the Cobb Institute. Because he could say what I want to say so much better and has so much to offer. But I'll give it a shot. By the time this is over, you will have been introduced to 7 groups that are roughly within the process movement. The Center for Process Studies, Pando Populus, the Institute for Ecological Civilization, Zhihe's Institute for the Postmodern Development of China, the Cobb Institute, which I'll introduce you to, and then something called the Youth Dialogues, which Jared Morningstar will introduce you to. And it may be confusing to you because there's so many groups and understandably confusing. But one of the aims of the Cobb Institute is to make it easier. It's to offer educational happenings that can introduce people to process thought and related subjects. And it does so through the lens of 3 themes: education, local community development, and spirituality. So I would like for Richard Livingston to put up the web page for the Cobb Institute and kind of say a word about each. So Richard, if you'll scroll down a little bit, there you'll see the 3 themes: advancing educational possibilities, fostering spiritual vitality, and promoting healthy communities. And all of those are quite important to us at the Cobb Institute and really to everybody that you're hearing from today. Eugene is doing marvelous things through Pando Populus in the Los Angeles area. And Philip is doing marvelous things around the world along the same lines. And we at the Cobb Institute have our eyes especially focused on the city of Pomona, California, and more generally, the Pomona Valley. So one thing that we do at the Cobb Institute is to get people together from different walks of life, and this includes leaders that can think about how to make Pomona even more of a compassionate city to which it's committed, how it can develop its economy in ways that are good for everybody and good for the earth, how it can especially reach out to people who are vulnerable and may feel that they're on the outskirts of society. So we're interested in, you might say, the application of process thought to local community development in Pomona, California. That's the right square there. But we're also interested in all kinds of other communities. For example, this group that we have that meets on Tuesdays called the Friends of John Gathering. I don't know how many, we've been meeting for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we typically have anywhere from 25 to 70 participants every Tuesday. You're welcome to participate in that. Well, that's a community too. It's a digital community. It's not geographically located because we have really people from all over the nation and even other parts of the world, but it's a community. And we're about promoting healthy communities that can serve the interests of ecological civilization. Now, the next square you see there is called fostering spiritual vitality. That word spiritual is a funny word. People mean different things by it. There's no need to define it in overly precise terms. But it does mean things like having a sense of beauty. It does mean things like being mindful in the present moment. It does mean things like having a sense of connection and knowing that no one is an island, ourselves much included. It does mean things like forgiveness, like love, like imagination, like play, like a sense of wonder, like zest for life. And we in the process community understand all of those as part of what it means to be spiritually alive in a sometimes very crazy and threatened world. And we want to help people, and ourselves included, become channels of those kinds of traits. By the way, I forgot to mention a primary trait there is listening. Listening to other people on their own terms for their own sakes, and listening to the earth, and listening to other animals, and listening to the world of plants, and listening to the cosmos. So promoting healthy communities and fostering spiritual vitality. And then there's the one you see on the left called advancing educational possibilities. We're doing a whole lot. We sponsor workshops and seminars and pop-up conversations right and left. And some of them are about process thought, Whitehead's thought, but some of them are about other subjects that we think are important to all of us in the process community. Ecological civilization, poetry, world religions. Now, one thing we've done is, when I said we try to make it easy, we've developed a series of slideshows or PowerPoints available to the general public, free, that cover a wide range of subjects. And I'd like for you to take a look at those for a second. We call it our Educator's Toolbox. And just look at the topics that we treat. Richard, if you'd scroll down, we've got one introducing the idea of ecological civilizations. We've got one called What is Process Thought? 20 Key Ideas. Keep going, Richard. We've got one called 14 Process Transformations. And those, by the way, were developed significantly by John Cobb. So if you want to know what kinds of transformations are the process folks really interested in, can you be specific? I really recommend that one. I think that it can be very helpful. We've got one on God and process theology, and Whitehead had a unique way of understanding God. And we want to share that. It's not that everybody has to accept it or buy it. We're quite open to non-theistic ways of living in the world, but many of us do find Whitehead's notion of God especially attractive and helpful. Whitehead had a thing for beauty. He thought that beauty is what the cosmos is ultimately about. It's driven toward and by the creation of various forms of beauty, of which, of course, natural beauty, molecular beauty, atomic beauty, the beauty of a sunset, the beauty of an animal, and of course, the beauty of each person. You'll find one on process spirituality. If there's anybody interested in the psychology of Jung, you'll find one on Whitehead and Jung, process and Jung, process and interfaith. Many, many people today are spiritually interested, but not religiously affiliated. The spiritual, but not religious. We've got a slideshow on process for the spiritual, but not religious. We call it the religion of kindness and beauty. Got one on Christian process theology, Jewish process theology, Hindu process theology, and more to come. We're developing one on Muslim, Islamic process theology, and Buddhist process philosophy. So Richard, you can give me back. So I hope that gives you a little snapshot of what the Cobb Institute is about, but we're by all means partners with all the others, and we work together. And we know, we do not expect the whole world to convert to the philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead. Good luck on that one. But we do think there's an attitude toward life, an organic way of looking at the world, and a set of practices that are really available to and important to everybody. For my part, I've spent a lot of time in mainland China, thanks to Zhihe Wang. So I know that the process perspective is by no means reducible to Western, American, European outlooks on life. It has many incarnations. The next person you'll hear from, a good friend of mine, Jared Morningstar, besides leading the youth dialogues, is a real expert on Islam and also Buddhist philosophy, and leads pop-ups on those subjects. I'm bragging for you, Jared, because that's not what you're going to talk about. So I'm bragging in advance. But that's the Cobb Institute. Thanks for giving me a moment to share about it.
I think we'll still wait and not take him up directly, but thank you for that. And Jay, under your leadership, I think the Cobb Institute has become the locus of openness. The easiest way to get into the process community is to get to be a part of the process movement. Join us on a Tuesday morning, and if you like the feel of it, you can move from there into one of many directions that are being pursued. And I'm personally particularly pleased that because there's very few, more universities are teaching Whitehead now in one way or another than was true even a year or two ago. So I don't mean none are, but still there's a great lack of opportunity for people to learn the philosophy. And most of the people who join with us don't want to study philosophy. They want to study the practical applications. That's fine. But the practical applications won't survive a long time without understanding of what is being practiced. And the Cobb Institute has created a certificate program.
That's right.
Which is bringing people not to the level of PhD study, but to a real understanding of Whitehead and how it makes it, how Whiteheadian perspective makes a difference across a range of fields. And the first graduation program is this Saturday. So I can't bear not to make some kind of a pitch for that, along with all the others. But of course, one of the things I like about what's happening today, and what I knew would happen today, is that you heard about quite a few very different institutions, all of them claiming a kind of kinship with the others. And I think the relation among them is 99% cooperation, maybe 1% competition. But we really support each other. We're not doing the same thing. There's room for what all of us are doing. And we flourish by helping each other. Now, the one that is the founder of this feast, namely the Living Earth movement, came about because none of these organizations were really dealing with international problems. And I think you can tell from our connections with China that when the movement of US-China relations headed in the direction of war, this seemed to be something not only that would put an end to all of our dreams, but that we should have some ability to help with. We were mainly Americans, and we had good connections in China. And we loved both countries. And we believe that if these two countries, the two leaders of the greatest economies in the world, the greatest polluters in the world, but the greatest military powers in the world, whatever you want to say, these two countries stand out, have the ability together to lead the world in a common way, rather than to continue to polarize. So we felt we needed to try. And it was that trial that led to the broader concern of peace. And I think that we can really, when we're working for peace, we do need to focus. We also decided that we had to get younger people involved. This has been a real problem. Our economy is set up now so that you don't have time to work on non-pecuniary activities, things you don't get paid for, until you retire. And I think we retired people can do a lot. I'm not apologizing. I hope no one feels, oh, I shouldn't do it, I'm retired. It's because you're retired that you can do it. Women, wives used to do it, but now our economy has made it necessary to have two people working in order to support a family. So we don't have that pool of women who are financially taken care of by their husbands and are able to do this kind of thing. So we old folks have to do it, but we've got to work out some way, something that will really attract the interest and attention of young people. And we turn to Jared for help. And so we'll turn to him now for our concluding statement.
All right, what a wonderful conversation this has been on all our organizations in this community, in this process, ecological sphere that certainly only growing. So I'm happy to close us out with something a little more specific. This is a specific program that is a collaboration between a number of our organizations here that you've heard from this evening, specifically the Living Earth movement that John was just sharing about, but also the Cobb Institute that we heard about from Dr. Jay McDaniel, and the Institute for Postmodern Development of China as well. So I have been called upon to steward and co-organize this very exciting initiative with my collaborator, Vivian Song, my Chinese friend and counterpart in this venture. And yes, we've put together this, this project, this program that we've called Living Earth Youth Dialogues. And we got a number of subtitles to try to kind of bring in all these different aspects. We have a lot of hopes for this, this program. So sharing from the heart, planting seeds of hope towards ecological civilization. So this is a program that brings Chinese and American youth together specifically once a month, typically on the first Friday of the month, but occasionally we've had slightly different schedules to accommodate busy lives and high-profile presenters to make sure that, yeah, we're making the best programs possible to bring folks together. So we have now hosted, I believe it's seven conversations, with another coming up shortly in July here. July 7th, I believe, is the likely date. So we're still finalizing details for that program, but should be coming up quite soon, and would love to have any new friends involved. Certainly, you do not need to yourself be a youth to come and participate, though we do try to foreground the younger participants, the younger presenters. So typically the format is we either bring an American or a Chinese featured speaker to introduce a topic, share some personal experience, share some perspectives from the heart. So this isn't so much a academic, sort of intellectual kind of program, but more so a cultural sharing, this building bridges, drawing connections, because turns out we're on this living earth, we're really on it together, and there's similar environmental problems facing young Chinese people as there are young Americans. So this can be both a point for sort of empathy, understanding, but also collaboration and bridge building and moving towards some relationship between our countries, between our cultures, that moves away from this competitive and so hostile at times paradigm that has more and more dominated the international relations, the geopolitics domain. But hopefully, instead, we can foster collaboration, empathy, and plant some seeds of hope, because it's true that our two nations are still very much leaders in the global scene. So it'd be great to use that position as something of leadership and be able to, in our little way with our program, influence the culture in our two countries more in these directions. So just to share briefly about some of the topics that we've dove into over the course of this program. Eco-living, eco-villages, issues of loneliness in stemming from our modernist urban design that is unecological and not fostering of community, unnatural for sort of human living. Exploring rural and beautiful ecological spaces in China and bringing more people to these spaces so they can foster a relationship with that land. I myself presented a bit more on the academic side of things, looking at eco-philosophies, Eastern and Western, and looking at some of the pitfalls, but also promises and those different paradigms. We had something about the burgeoning field of plant humanities and going on these eco walks through urban and other areas to develop a more holistic relationship with the non-human, non-animal life that exists around us, even in urban places, though hopefully more. We had a wonderful community conversation in May where we really discussed the idea of pursuing a sustainable, ecologically oriented career and how can we balance reasonable needs of sort of financial stability, economic security in an economically turbulent world, while also investing in these values of a living earth and contributing positively to our civilizations. And most recently, this month actually, we had an interesting presentation on urban rooftop farming and some of both the issues with how that is implemented and also the sort of promises of these types of paradigms, and very productive community conversation stemming out of that one as well. So if you'd like to hear more in depth, we will likewise be doing a whole presentation on this program tonight for the World Unity Week, where you can hear a bit more about each of the specific guests and topics we've delved into, and also hear from my collaborator, Vivian, will be calling in from China. It'll be the morning of Friday for her. So we'll do some back and forth and also invite any of our previous presenters and elders to give their own perspectives as well. So would love to see you there for that this evening.
Thank you, Jared. The Youth Dialogue is co-sponsored by 3 of these organizations: Living Earth Movement, the Institute for Postmodern Development of China, and the Cobb Institute. So yes, it's all in the family. John, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you if why you should make a concluding statement about what you're hoping for from the Living Earth movement. When he hopes, he works. So I'm really interested what he's going to do next.
Well, Richard, would you bring up the website? We're going to talk only briefly about that because the focus today was to share. Actually, I'm thinking that this was kind of a Homer Simpson gift because I've learned so much about all of these organizations that I've been blessed to work with in the fringes. The Center for Process Studies just celebrated its 50th anniversary. Living Earth Movement is about to celebrate its 10th month as an official nonprofit organization. It was founded to celebrate John Cobb's 97th birthday, February 2022, seems like just yesterday, with this simple little vision of inspiring worldwide cooperation, dramatic action to address the ecological crisis. Scroll down just a little bit. It's a 2-part mission statement. It's to inspire global cooperation for the sake of all life on the planet, beginning with the United States and China. And we also seek to promote a new human civilization that lives in harmony with the rest of the ecosphere. The broader statement of purpose is on the website. The link will be in the chat. There are pages for each of the programs. Click on US-China Choice Point or China Papers, either one of those. There are 2 programs tomorrow. Scroll down and maybe a little bit more on that, maybe not too much more. John Cobb believes that there's conflict between the United States and China. It's increasing. The percentage of Americans who believe China is our #1 enemy has just grown exponentially. There's a possibility, some believe, of a nuclear war with China. So there are 2 presentations tomorrow about how John Cobb is inviting all of us to help minimize the conflict and the potential for war between the US and China. So that's enough for the website. I'll put the links for those programs. The first one is on that topic, the US-China Choice Point, and John's going to read part of an op-ed that he wrote about a year ago before things started heating up with China, and it was so radical and controversial that our publicist was freaking out, over it. And now is the time. And what John is going to prepare and present tomorrow is that as a preface to this new book, John's last book. He's written over 50, and Ron Hines laughs about how many of them are going to be his last book. By the way, the session after that one is going to be John and Ignacio. Tomorrow, the theme is love. And the motivation behind the Living Earth movement, the letters to President Biden and Xi encouraging them to cooperate on climate crisis, set aside their differences, prevent nuclear war. That's part of what we're going to present in both of those presentations tomorrow. The second one is going to be with John and Ignacio on JFK's speech 60 years ago that led to a nuclear arms treaty between the US and the Soviet Union, and how relevant that is today with the relationship between the US and China, as well as the US and Russia. So while all these organizations that you've heard from today are doing work every day of the year, I believe, providing valuable tools, programs, toolkits. I mean, Jay walked you through just some of the treasures that are available right there on the website. He also has Open Horizons. He's put a couple of items in the chat where you can find Open Horizons, another great resource. So we're inviting all of you who resonate with any of this to continue to collaborate, to communicate, to coordinate, to cooperate. I'm going to put the links to the 2 programs tomorrow into the chat, and we'll just open up for any questions for the couple of minutes that we have remaining in the overtime. Again, I want to acknowledge and thank Richard Livingston, the executive director of the Cobb Institute, the miracle worker, the prayer answer today. and all the team and the staff behind us. So please bring John back up and let's see if anyone has any questions or comments or accolades. We thank you all for being here, for your contributions. I'm going to put those links in the chat.
Thank you for all your hard work, dude. You've been working overtime and well abused in some instances, but you sure produced a great program with these incredible people. And it's all such a blessing. Thank you.
Oh, Kurt, thank you. And all I had to do was show up, as you've seen. They are the blessing. And we have another program tomorrow with Kurt and Kat Haber and Barbara Ledyard, a couple other people. It's a radical collaboration, and the link for that will be in the chat as well. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone who put contact in the chat. This will be recorded. It will be available for at least the rest of the 99 days. And believe me, I'll be sending a lot of people to this and to the individual segments. And yes, we'll be following up with you, Eugene. I can see a full-blown hour for each of these organizations. And even an hour would only be the tip of the iceberg, right? The questions are coming.
Isn't it today at 2? I mean,
That is tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, you might be more specific about what's going to happen tomorrow. What time?
Okay, let me finish putting it in there. I'm going to turn to you for some more specifics because I'm looking for you to let the cat out of the bag. We've got a gentleman in China who's helping edit and refine the documents. And if we have enough ready by tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific, we're
Okay.
going to release Choice Point.
And that will be at 2 o'clock tomorrow?
That is, I've got to look in here. I've gotten so.
Oh, well, okay. I thought maybe you could send us off with a commitment in our minds. Yeah, we got to see that at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
If you are in, that's the.
Yes, it's 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific.
Thank you, Richard. Man, I got one so messed up this morning. I had the angels in the hub room from World Unity Week doing overtime, trying to get our times right.
And there's the radical collaborators today. It's the ultimate radical collaboration, and that's on today in another 20 minutes.
Right, and I'll put the link to that into the chat too. So you just never know.
And look at all these radical collaborators right here. You get to
I
join.
know, I was going to say there are quite a few, and some of them are shy. So I bet there's 1 or 2 people there who've got a problem or who would like to say thank you to John Cobb or some of these other presenters. And like John said, commit to peace on earth and to show up and make a difference. And let's do everything we can.
I think that the climate in this country is right for peace. I'm a movement that is really working for peace and for a living earth. We must find ways to make use of that climate to change the political atmosphere. Because now all you hear is about how terrible our enemies are. They're so bad, we ought to destroy them, wipe them out, nuke them, whatever. It's very frightening, but wonderfully possible for changes to occur.
The beautiful thing, there's a group that's called the Resolutionaries. I'll put it into the chat. There's going to be a bill coming to Congress very soon about having Congress actually have to look for resolutions using the mediation practices to go to the source reason why we have the issues, and then to be able to solve those.
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, I put the radical collaboration in there as well. I just want to thank you one and all for coming. Thank you, Eugene, Zhihe, Jay, Jared.
And Charles.
And Charles, yeah, that's right. I was here. I got the t-shirt. I'm looking for the mug that goes with it.
You got the t-shirt. My goodness, I got a t-shirt too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you all. And I'm heading to California.
Peace then. see the world as it is, love. It's all love, every single thing. And we say, Zoom peace, and we throw that out to the world and it creates peace.
Boom, peace.
Yeah.
And 99 Days of Peace Through Unity, it closes out in September with International Peace Weekend. So we're going to continue this channel, these programs, these resources, and many more. And follow Jay McDaniel's example and go check out some of the hundreds of world-class programs like this one that are being made available on all these platforms through World Unity. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Dr. John B. Cobb Jr., Nobel Peace Prize winner, prize
Come on.
winner, AARP Purpose Prize at a minimum.
I really oppose lying, so take it easy.
Those are visions, if nothing else.
See what you caused, John? You caused this because you didn't take it easy, so we don't get to take it easy.
That's right.
You set the example.
98 years young. Well, blessings.